Resilient by Design with Dr. Cantey, a podcast centered on resilience, leadership, healing, growth with adversity, and the courage required to navigate life without losing yourself in the process. I'm Dr. Perceffenessee Cantey, and in our first episode, we talked about the strength to bend without breaking. We explored the idea that resilience is not silent endurance, it is intentional strength. Because for many people, what we have called resilience has really been survival mode, pushing through, overextending, ignoring our own needs, carrying pressure quietly while continuing to perform. But true resilience is different. True resilience is learning how to adapt without losing yourself, how to protect your well-being without guilt, and how to recover before exhaustion becomes collapse. So today, I want to continue that narrative by talking about something many strong people rarely discuss honestly. What happens when the person everyone depends on becomes tired? Not weak, not incapable, not failing, just simply exhausted. Because one of the greatest misconceptions about strong people is that strength somehow removes the weight they carry. But strength does not mean that we're weightless. And many people listening right now are carrying responsibilities, expectations, emotional labor, leadership pressure, caregiving, uncertainty, grief, healing, and exhaustion, all while continuing to function at a high level. So today, we are going deeper for a few moments. We are talking about hidden exhaustion, survival mode, emotional fatigue, and why resilience must include recovery if it is going to be sustainable. One of the things I've learned through life and leadership is this, that productivity can hide exhaustion extremely well, and most of you can probably relate to that. Sometimes people look at high-performing individuals and assume they are handling everything successfully simply because they continue to show up. But many strong people are functioning on empty. I remember a season in my own life where exhaustion quietly became my normal. At the time, I was working a full-time job while pursuing my doctoral degree. And anyone who has ever worked full-time while in a doctoral program understands that it is not simply just going to school. It becomes another full-time commitment layered on top of an already demanding life. My days often started before sunrise. I would wake up around 6 in the morning, get ready for work, and spend 8 or more hours working throughout the day. Then I would come home, cook dinner, do light chores, handle responsibilities around the house, and try to answer calls or messages that I missed throughout the day, and attempt to maintain some version of a normal life. And after all that, my second shift would begin. I would sit down with research articles, discussion boards, writing assignments, presentations, readings, and doctoral coursework that kept me awake until 1, sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning, only to wake up a few hours later and then do it all over again, day after day, week after week, and month after month. And somewhere in the middle of all that, life itself was still happening. I was volunteering with organizations I cared deeply about, trying to maintain my relationships, social and personally, trying to remain dependable, to meet my expectations, and trying to prove to myself that I could handle it all. And honestly, for a while, I convinced myself that I was fine because I was still functioning. This is the dangerous thing about high-functioning exhaustion. You can be tired for so long that exhaustion starts to simply feel normal. You stop asking yourself, is this sustainable? Because think, survival mode only teaches you how to continue, how to move forward. It does not teach you how to recover. And many strong people become so accustomed to carrying pressure that they no longer recognize when they are depleted. This is a unique kind of pressure that comes with being the strong one. People rely on you, they lean on you, and expect stability from you. And after a while, you start believing you cannot afford to slow down because too many people are counting on you. So you keep performing in strength. You smile while exhausted, you lead while depleted, and you encourage others while you're privately drained. And eventually, resilience becomes performance instead of a state of wellness. Many people know how to survive, but they do not know how to rest. Because survival mode teaches you several things. That is to keep moving, keep producing, keep functioning, and certainly keep showing up. But what survival mode does not teach you is how to slow down and how to process your stress, how to recover emotionally, and how to listen to your own needs and meet them. And honestly, some people have become so accustomed to pressure that their peace feels unfamiliar. Does that resonate with any of you today? Resilience by design requires awareness. And that awareness is of several things like your limits, your emotional capacity, your mental well-being, your physical health, and what your spirit has been trying to say beneath all the noise. Because resilience is not just about continuing, it is about sustaining yourself while you're continuing. Another reason strong people become exhausted is emotional labor. And emotional labor is often invisible. Emotional labor is the mental and emotional effort required to manage not only your own emotions, but also the emotions, needs, expectations, and comfort of other people, often while suppressing what you are personally feeling. It is the unseen work many people carry every day. For example, checking on everyone else while no one checks on you, remaining calm and professional at work even while overwhelmed, managing conflict while suppressing your own emotions, being the strong one everyone leans on during difficult situations, carrying the emotional atmosphere of a room, team, or household, and supporting others through crisis while neglecting your own healing. And many leaders, caregivers, parents, educators, healthcare workers, ministry leaders, and helping professionals experience this constantly. You become so focused on being available to everyone else that eventually you become unavailable to yourself. But over time, that creates depletion, not just physical exhaustion, but emotional exhaustion. That kind of exhaustion that sleep alone cannot fix. Which is why one of the most important forms of resilience is sustainable courage. It's the courage to say, I need help. I need rest. I cannot continue carrying this the same way. And that no longer works for me. And I deserve boundaries too. That kind of courage is difficult because many people fear disappointing others. But protecting your well-being is not selfish. Friends, it is necessary. Because eventually, unmanaged emotional exhaustion, it affects your health and your peace, your relationships. If you are in leadership, it affects that also, your clarity and your identity. One of the hardest lessons many strong people learn is this. You cannot continuously pour from an exhausted place and expect not to feel depleted. Eventually, your mind, your body, and your spirit will demand the pause you keep postponing. Before we close today, I want to leave you with a few reflection questions. What have you normalized that is actually exhausting you? What are you functioning but not truly recovering? And what might change if you gave yourself permission to rest before reaching burnout? Maybe resilience for you in this season looks like slowing down, setting boundaries, asking for help, saying no, which sometimes is hard for us to do, resting without guilt, protecting your peace, and simply telling the truth about how tired you really are. And if no one has told you this lately, you are allowed to be both strong and human. You are allowed to need support. You are allowed to recover. Because resilience is not about proving how much exhaustion you can survive silently. It is about how to sustain yourself with wisdom, courage, and intention. Thank you for joining me for episode 2 of Resilient by Design with Dr. Cantey. And until next time, my friends, protect your peace, honor your healing, and never confuse survival with living. Because you were not created just to endure life, you were designed to rise through it. Remember, stay resilient. I'll see you next time.